Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge in the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2023 Charles Schwab Challenge. This is going to be a 2-for-1 show. You're going to get all my DFS picks with a focus on the GPP, large game side. And of course, I'm going to get in that before the lock show, which is going to give you the weather and ownership projections. Anything else that I've found out that, hey, we might want to know before we're locking in those final lineups. And with all that said, hey, thanks for stopping by, giving me a look. In about 45 minutes, I should be able to get through all this information. And with that said, let's go talk a little golf. All right, real quick look at the weather. And as you see, our big concern right now is possible thunderstorms Thursday morning. But what I read was hopefully this cell is going to die down. Might just be a few showers. And then with that said, Thursday afternoon should be fine. And then the only thing else is we've got possible winds gusting up to 20 on Saturday, Sunday. But from a flight advantage, the only thing I would see, if you're maybe doing showdown, you might want to look at guys maybe going off in that later afternoon slot. And the only reason why I say that is they don't have to deal with the rain if it does happen. Of course, there could be delays if there is electricity. But what I kind of like is if it rains and then these guys come out and they get perfect conditions, but it softens up the course, could help from a scoring perspective. So that's really the only thing that I'm looking at. And again, more from a showdown perspective. But that's the weather. I also jump over into Windfinder at the very end just to show you where I'm pulling my information from. And you can use that too. All right, I talked about this in the preview show, of course, the horrible horseshoe. And what I was going to call out on this is, of course, 3 of the toughest holes that these guys play outside of a major. This is showing the guys who've done well. Now, of course, this is historical, but something that I thought was kind of interesting. You got Tommy Fleetwood, who's played it once and shot 4 under. You got Russ Henley, who's also played it once. That's 4 rounds. At 2 under, you got Lee Hodges, and all the guys in the green highlighted are in the field, hence why I highlighted them. Lee Hodges once, 1 under. Matt McNeely has actually played it a few times. It looks like 1 missed cut, 1 under. Same with Troy Merritt. He's played it a few times with 1 missed cut, 1 under. And then last but not least, EVR, Eric Van Ruin, coming in at playing it once and shot 1 under. So if you're curious who's handled that, I mean, typically you kind of always see that with the Green Mile or the Snake Pit or whatever. Guys that have handled those, you know, the tough holes, a stretch of tough holes, typically end up in, you know, top 10 finishes. So that's why I called that out. Thought it was also kind of interesting to David Faraday. So this is going back quite a long time ago. All right, then I also looked at what the PGA puts this out typically the day before, all these kind of shot league stats. So when you hear those announcers with all that, you know, really inside info, of course, they're fed that and hence how they get it. And I get it here. And there's some things that I just thought was interesting. And I do this pretty much every time just to look at. So at the Colonial, percentage of hitting greens inside 125, the second toughest. And hence, they got smaller greens. The rough is up to 3 inches. And that's, I believe that's what it's stating. Well, it doesn't mention the rough, but long story short, they're tough greens to hit because they're smaller. And the rough here is Bermuda, also at 3 inches. So that makes sense. Also from 100 yards out, you know, proximity is the 3rd longest on any course that the PGA Tour plays, again, excluding majors. So 33 feet is typically when these guys hit the green. That's where they're typically getting their birdie putts from. This sounds like greenside bunkers, which I did no sand saves, no around the green in my models because it's showing here it's very easy to get out of sand and save your par. And then this was kind of interesting. The putting percentage between 15 and 25 feet was 2nd lowest. And putts made. Funny enough, I think the number 1 was where they play the Rocket Mortgage at the Detroit Country Club. And what I know about that course, if I've actually played it, is there's very subtle breaks around the cup, which they're pretty flat greens, but because of those slight little breaks that you can't really read, hence these guys miss a lot. And they're also noting, which I forgot, that Sam Burns came back from like 7 shots on Sunday and just went in fuego with the putter. I think he gained like 8 strokes on the field on that Sunday to make that charge to win this last year. Because if you remember right, I think Scotty was up there. He got into a playoff with Scotty, but I forgot that Sam Burns, like a JT at the PGA Championship last year, had that crazy, I mean, he was way back of the field, not even in sight to do anything, and it actually ends up winning a tournament. I think that's only happened 3 times last year, and that was JT. Rahm did it. Where I was going with all this is I actually ran a model kind of grabbing and highlighting those things that they are calling out that are very difficult in tradition. Now, of course, I kept good drives, which of course means hitting fairways or the first cut and then hitting the green. I got that at 30%. I got approach at 30%, and then I took that proximity of 100 to 125 at 20%, and then that putting outside of 25 feet at 10, and then that crucial thing, again, this is what Sam Burns was like, 10 of 10, making putts within inside 15 feet, hence how he did so well making that comeback. Put that at 10%, and then ran that through a model with no filters on, looking at the last 9 tournaments or 36 rounds of golf these guys played. Just curious to see. And this is the top 15 guys, again, kind of focus on what we're already looking at, but taking these key kind of shot link stats for Colonial. Shuffler number 1, Morikawa, 20 feet now. Funny enough, Joseph Bramlett, that was a bit of a shocker. Typically with the putter, he kind of struggles, but you can see here he has been doing good at this kind of longer distance. Siwoo Kim, Hayden Buckley, Benny Martin, Russ Henley, Dylan Wu, Max Homa. Call out on Dylan Wu, you'll notice that 10 to 15, he's ranked number 1. And he's been playing some pretty good golf. I know he struggled. It was the last term out. It was the Wells Fargo, whatever he played in. Maybe it was the Byron Nelson. That could have been it, that he had to do so well. But could be an interesting play here. You got Victor Hovland, Stefan Jaeger, Nate Lashley, Lipsky, and Davis Riley. So all those guys, I was pretty interested, but there's some that I've already kind of focused on and are going to be some of my picks. But just if you're curious, I thought I'd give you that information. I had it and wanted to share it. All right, let's go over. We're going to do some analysis on the players and my picks. Then from there, we'll go through ownership projections, touch on weather, and then get you guys out of here. Okay, so I've hopped over to Fantasy National, and as always, if you are doing any of your own analysis or getting more and more into putting more money from a DFS side or a betting side, of course, I give you all my thoughts and analysis, but you can do a lot of other things that I'm not doing. So I highly recommend checking it out, fantasynational.com. And of course, as always, I'm going to be using Draftkings pricing, but for some reason, if you use FanDuel or something else, you can still use these picks, just the pricing is going to be a bit different. I'm going to be looking at the last 24 rounds of golf, so I always like to keep this to more of a recent form. As we know, these guys go up and down like a roller coaster. I mean, Rory would be a great example. I've got no filters turned on. Of course, I've done a lot of pre-work on this, already done some cop course looking and that kind of fun stuff. And as usual, I have got a mini model here that's 5 stroke gain categories. And if you're curious what my weighting is, if you are also wanting to run this, I've got my good drives at 21. I'm really heavy on approach. Ball striking's thrown there at 21. The proximity still shows up, even though I know we just talked about that 100 to 125. That's just saying it's very difficult to get close to the pin from that distance. Just want to call that out. But most of the shots do come in from this 150 to 175, I believe, if I remember right. About 25% of them. And then putting at 10. So that's where I'm weighting this little stroke gain model. Also, I've got birdie or better opportunities, even though these guys don't make typically a ton of birdies at this course. But we do want the guys that are getting the opportunities, and that's what BOB gain means. I'm looking at the last 24 rounds. And of course, we want to see that, this big green bar working its way up. And you can look at their last 5 tournaments. You're going to see which is recent results, what are their finishes, and then how they fared at this venue, at least over the last, 5 years or how many times they played it. Okay, with that said, I already know, I actually took a peek at ownership projection, and Scotty is actually over 30% projected ownership right now. That's, actual entries going into out of Fantasy National into Draftkings. And of course, I had showed here he has missed a cut here. He's had a T55. I'm going to, usually I used to do this, but it seems like I've been, the way things have been working, the guys at the top have typically been winning or doing very well. And I'm not saying Scotty Scheffler, he's playing awesome. And I've, from a stroke gain and everything we've seen historically, there's really no reason not to pick Scotty. But this is looking at it from a GPP perspective. We've got to try to differentiate. And if somehow Scotty misses the cut or does not at least get in the top 10, at that expenditure, your DFS lineups are going to be kind of bust. I'm going to be passing on Scotty, and a lot of it is some past, and also, right, he just, played a very tough 4 days at the PGA Championship, came in second. I mean, the guy has had quite a grind, has not missed a beat in everything that he's played in. I mean, pretty much top 10 or better. The RBC Heritage, which I would say out of all these tracks is probably the best comparable course. Again, looking at these, ones that are showed, he ended up with a T11. And like I said, I'm just reaching for reasons to not play Scotty because of that ownership. You do it, depending on how many lineups you're making, definitely put some Scotty. But right now, my majority of my GPP, the 200K or 250K, I mean, look, whatever it is, I'm going to be kind of trying to get off Scotty. And then Tony Finau's actually had an amazing tournament history here. And, again, kind of mixed recent results. I mean, the PGA Championship, that is what it is. I mean, I think they talked a little bit while he was at the course in like a quick presser, and he just was kind of laughing at, he's like, oh my God, I can chip. Like chipping around Colonial is way easier than what those guys dealt with. So I'm not, on all these guys, I'm not really weighing if they had a struggle. Now, if they did well, then, of course, that could help because, hey, one of the toughest courses a lot of these guys said they've ever played in their life. So, but the putter makes me a bit nervous. So that's why for the 10-7, I'm going to try to fade these top two guys. And I'm actually going to land on Victor Hovland, the guy I just keep watching, of course, except for one hole at the PGA Championship, he had at least a chance to make it into the finals, or I'm sorry, into a playoff is a better way to word that. But yeah, I mean, of course, you could say, well, hey, you said at the RBC Heritage, a good comp course, he struggled there. But like I said, I'm trying to kind of zig when everybody else, well, I said I'm trying to zag where everybody else is zigging. And so with Victor, just his ball striking is a lead. Of course, what he does with the irons, he's been, right up there at top. And again, that's kind of my focus. So for the guys that cost more, he's where I'm going to land. And I'll click down Victor real quick. Of course, he hits a ton of fairways, over 60%. Of course, he's got, pretty much length. He's, I would never consider him a plotter. I wouldn't consider him a bomber either, but definitely just elite with accuracy. And he's also very aggressive. He's stated that he's probably one of the more aggressive players on tour. Maybe at times that's what's burned him, especially like in some of the majors. But if you want to look at where he's had some of his better finishes, really, I mean, of course, we got, he's done all his wins, not in the lower 48, but on what I call the vacation swing. And a little bit of that can be, of course, due to the field that he's, played against in those events. Even if you look back at the days with Finau when he had his only win for a while at the Puerto Rico Open. But of course, the majors, he shows up. At tough courses, he shows up. So, I'm not going to say it's a perfect course fit if you want to go on comparison, but he's also super elite talent. So, and he's kind of my brand. So I'm going to go with Victor. Guy that I have not been picking, that I'm going to change it up a bit, is Collin Morikawa. I believe he, lost in the, I think that was a playoff, right? It was a three-way playoff with Daniel Berger, and I'm forgetting the other person that was involved in that now. But, of course, it's all going to come down the putter with him. And I'm going to see where ownership comes in when we get there. I did not look at Morikawa, but, man, this is a perfect fit for this guy. If we go kind of take just a quick look at where he's done a lot of his damage. Of course, he has those majors, but he also, what was that? I believe the FedEx Cup, where he, the St. Jude, which I think is a great comparable course, TPC Southwind. He's done well. He's done well at the John Deere. I mean, his game, he typically, if he's hitting that baby fade, hits it about, 280, 290, maybe a little over, but it's, repetitive if he's hitting it. And then also his irons, we all know, is ridiculous. You don't need to have a good short game here, which I didn't even put that into this model. It's, of course, what is going to happen with the putter. Let's go look at him real quick. I felt like he didn't putt. Yeah, I was going to say, I felt at the PGA Championship, it wasn't the putter. Of course, the Wells Fargo, I mean, you could see just, dying strokes off. The last time was on POA that he gained 2.5, and then he gained a half stroke, which that would have been, bent greens, I believe, which we're also playing here. So if you want to, try to do some correlation there. But I'm going to give it a whirl, try to pair those two guys up at the top in some of my lineups. Max, I mean, I kind of listened to his presser yesterday. He's been fighting something. I mean, he went into the Augusta, the Masters, knowing his swing was crap, and he was just trying to manage it. Seemed like what he said, I think, at Harbortown, even though, he just kind of said his mind was not in it. He was happy to be there, but long story short was he wished he could have had that time off to go work on his game. So him missing a cut was not a bad thing. He felt like he was coming into the PGA Championship in better form. The swing was in better, but man, I can't tell you how many times I've seen him to go hit also his baby fade off the tee, and it kept just going left or hooking. So, what Mac's been doing very well, though, is the putter's been, definitely an uptick this year. His irons were, in Fuego there for a while. Let's go take one quick look at Max. I just want to see, recently what he's been up to. So you can see here, kind of lost in all categories except the putter was bailing him out. Again, I mentioned struggling off the tee and approach. We don't have what was going on at the Masters, but he already said he was fighting it. So really the last time, I mean, I guess Wells Fargo. I don't want to say the last time. So Wells Fargo and the Players, it's just, I guess, it's so recent with me. And I don't know. What has he done at the Colonial? So, I mean, there you go. A couple missed cuts. And again, max game, you can't take 2015 and really count that. Honestly, I would look at more. I feel like where Max is within the last 18 months, he's a different player completely. So, do what you want with that. But he's got two missed cuts and two kind of 20s. And for that price tag, I don't know. I'm a huge Max fan. He's probably one of my favorite golfers, one of my favorite guys to play. It's hard now, right? Because I used to be able to bet him or, play him at, bet him at crazy odds and be able to play him in DFS in the 7,000 range, 8,000, like just now we're at the 10,000 range. And of course, his field's a little bit not as strong as what we've been seeing. But funny enough, I'm kind of going against my grain. So I've not been playing Morikawa, and I really haven't been on Spieth. I saw what Spieth did with a bad wrist at the PGA Championship, a T29 under those conditions. And the guy has just, been in fuego on this course. I think he holds for the last 5 times, like the total strokes gain at this track. Of course, he's, back home also. Let me go look at kind of bigger picture here. Yeah, I thought he won. So he actually won in 2016, this event at Colonial. He went nuts with the putter. But, I mean, look at all the seconds, first, seconds. I mean, this is kind of like also just not too far from the Byron Nelson, like kind of his playground. So no way I can go against that. He's still in good form. And yes, he does. I did see he's still got the tape on the wrist, but I'm guessing that's more preventative. I mean, if he pulled out of the Byron Nelson, if he was feeling really, I would think any kind of discomfort, I don't know why he would not. This is not an elevated event. It would be a time for him to take a breather. But also, I think he's also trying to get his first win of the year, if I remember correctly. A lot of, top 5 finishes, even a second at RBC, almost defended. So I really like where Jordan's at, and I'm going to be playing some Jordan. Burnsley, of course, I mentioned, won this last year, kind of came from nowhere. But again, funny enough, the guys that I like to play, I just haven't seen a whole lot of, and that would be Max and Burns. So, I'm going to go against the grain of the guys, again, brand, and kind of keep that. Sungjae Im should be a perfect course fit for him. But again, I've just been seeing a little kind of chink in the armors. But of course, I mean, he did a lot of travel before the PGA, but you can see one of the more accurate drivers on tour with some distance. Just really the PGA is really the only blemish. I mean, if you look at the last 3, I really have, this is more almost like the Ricky Fowler call. It's a little more gut feeling than it is anything. Let's go see where, I know he won the Honda, but let's go just take a quick look at where he's had some of his best finishes. And I'm guessing, so of course Shriners, which is a pure shootout. Eastlake, Wyndham, it's a bit comparable. Just trying to see if any of the other ones are really none of like the top. I mean, there's RBC Heritage. Trying to look at the top comp courses I have in my mind. Okay, Colonial, that's a while back. The Amex, short track. There's TPC Southwind. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's a great fit for him. I will probably sprinkle him in. I'm not telling you, whenever I tell you guys, like, I'm just telling you who I'm kind of like focusing my core on. I'm never telling you guys not to play some of these guys, but Sungjae Im, I will plug in. Again, I don't know how many lineups. I'm thinking probably a little less this week, maybe 10 lineups in the large GPP, kind of a lottery. And if I do that, he'll definitely make a team or two. Actually kind of interested in Justin Rose. Now, of course, the PGA Championship, he actually had a lot of birdies and also a lot of bogeys. But if I remember right, yeah, he did a lot of it with the putter and the irons. But I'm good with that. I mean, that's kind of the combination we need here. Off the tee, he's been pretty accurate, too. Where's his coming in at? 62%. So I really like Justin Rose's game. I also feel like he might have won at this event. Yeah, 2018. So the one, I don't know if it will pull up on everything, but let's go even look at a big, he had a third in 2020. So the reason why I'm looking at it this way instead of in the other is because we get a larger sample, right? I only get to see 5 years, but I think, yeah, there we go. It would have came up. So a T3, I mean, good term of history. I like the form. Of course, he won one of his most recent wins. Well, I don't know how long, about 4 or 5 years before he won, when he won earlier this winter, I guess, technically, at the Pebble Beach, AT&T Pro-Am. Tommy Fleetwood, I like, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight him. I know I didn't want to pick too many guys in this range. I think I've got, 2 in the 10s up there, and I've got now, 4 in the 9s, so that's not bad. I'm okay with that. So I want Tommy highlighted. I already talked about what he's done here, but man, the guy's just been in amazing form. 9,200, I think it's a great fit. Go take a quick look at Tommy. I always think of the Florida swing, as a lot of us do, is where he should get his win, but why not the Texas? I mean, look what he's been gaining off the tee, approach, around the green. I mean, everything is firing. it is looking like he might get his first win. Of course, here's some of the Florida events. Of course, good showing at the Valspar this year. And he's only played this event once. I want to see what he's done. Let's see, the St. Jude. Is that going to... Yeah, he also had a nice showing at the St. Jude back in 2000. That's TPC Southland. I think is a really good comparable, too. Anyway, so I like Tommy. He's going in my core, sorry. I think now I got 25 guys. So perfect, 25 guys in my core player pool. Chris Kirk, even though you're going to see this model is not loving him, this is a perfect fit for him. You could see, you know, at least in the last 5 years, never missed a cut. Had a T15 last year, a T11. That driving, that's kind of odd because when I think of Chris Kirk, I think of, you know, accuracy, which you can see 61%. So I'm not sure, you know, he's not long. So maybe he's missed a couple fairways to do that, but typically this is what we see out of him. And the irons can get in fuego, which, you know, of course he did. He was kind of on this run here, coming out at Wale at Sony Open, the Amex, which these are all perfect fits. And then he is also a past champion of the Charles Schwab way back in 2015, but the RSM he's won at, again, that's a while back. The Sony, I mean, these are all perfect comparable courses. And if you know Chris Kirk's game, this is a course that he could do some damage on now. So that's where the model sometimes will kind of mislead you. And this is a horses for courses. Typically guys that have done well here, even coming in bad form, are going to typically do well. Siwoo Kim, no problem with him at all on this. Of course, you can see the history is one of the reasons why, but I mean, his game should fit here. The putter's been kind of struggling, at least over the last few, but I don't think it's a terrible play. Ricky Fowler, again, you're going to see that, you know, everything looks great. Of course, he missed that cut, which I'm not holding that against. I think he missed it by a stroke. I told you a lot of it was the putter. It wasn't that he played bad golf. Let me see if we could take a quick look at where Ricky's had some success real quick here. Of course, the last one we know is the waste management. And then everything else is going to be a little older there. So let's go to the 2022. I just want to see if anything else. How's he done at the RBC? So this year he had a 15th, but a lot of missed cuts before that. Let's look at the St. Jude. 64th most recently. So again, I don't have a problem. I'm going to pass again on Ricky, see how that all works out. I'm going to go to my buddy Russ Henley. And really from a stroke game perspective, you can make an argument that Ricky Fowler is a better play. But again, Russ Henley, kind of my brand. Also, I just know where he's done his damage. Best showing recently was at the Masters. That kind of came a little bit. It was funny enough, I picked him, but was not expecting him to T4. But he did show up at the Heritage. Where he used to really strive was putting on Bermuda. This has been, but honestly, he's kind of been just a crazy streaky putter. We'll go look at that. But what the guy does, a lot like Grillo, is you can see probably one of the most accurate drivers of the golf ball. So that's number one here as a key thing. Give yourself opportunities. And at times he can go just nuts. And you can see the irons have been firing. The putter is what cost him at the PGA. Something about those greens did not work out well for him. And he's kind of been hit or miss with the putter. Let's see, the last time he actually really did damage would be at the Sony when he lost in that playoff to Hideki. And that's on Bermuda. But that's been kind of his bugaboo. Even though, funny enough, if you look at this, it still shows, you know, that he, you know, gains a bit on Bermuda. But I think a lot of that was, you know, kind of past. And if you look at where he's done his damage, you know, the Sony, he won there. It was his first victory. Of course, the Sony, again, the John Deere, if you watch my previous show, was also TPC Deere Run. That is bent greens, pretty tight. The Honda, looks like it showed up a couple times, which, you know, of course, you got to be very accurate at that course or you're in the water. RSM. So again, if you know these guys, you know where they do well. This is a perfect Russ Henley track, and I'm going to play him. And of course, you guys know, if you've been watching me for a while, kind of a Russ Henley fan. Funny enough, Denny McCarthy, we've been kind of waiting and waiting for him to also get his first win. I think everything aligns here. I mean, you can see great recent form. He's had a T27 here last year, and he's been ball striking better. And when I say that, again, off the tee, so you can see the accuracy, also very similar to Russ. It's at about, you know, 300, but you can see one of the most elite putters, and that's something we're going to need here. You're always going to need it, but I think even more on this course because of if that proximity holds true, right, you're going to have a lot of putts outside of 30 feet, a lot of those subtle breaks. Of course, his best chance, if I remember right, was the Honda. Kind of, I think, fell apart on Sunday. But again, short tracks, John Deere, you know, the RSM, there's the Wyndham, the RSM. You know, a lot of the courses that, where he could win, this is definitely one of them. I'm actually going to click off Cam Davis because I did put in Fleetwood, and I wanted to state, but I think he's a good play here. Of course, he's been on this kind of Jekyll and Hyde run all year. And, I did tell you guys, hey, I think he was a great play, especially for the ownership and what he can do in a points perspective. And when people think of Cam Davis, even me, you think length off the tee, really good ball striker, pretty bad short game, pretty bad putter, okay with the irons. But what's interesting with Cam Davis, and I'm still going to plug him, but this is the issue, right? He sometimes can get wayward, but he does gain on bent. His only PGA victory was at the Detroit Country Club. I forgot about that, and that's so similar. Okay, sorry, I'm clicking back Cam into my player pool. Where I wanted to go with this is you would think he would do better on big, difficult courses, but where he's actually shown up, like the Rocket Mortgage is not that, but the RBC Heritage, the Amex, the Players, it's kind of a very strategic, you got to work your way around it. RBC Heritage, Charles Schwab, John Deere, like the Honda, the Sony. Where this guy's shown up is, not so much a bomber's, kind of paradise. It's courses that you have to navigate. And when I say a bomber's paradise, where you hit it over like average 315 to 330, but you're a little wayward, that's typically what bombers do. But somehow, I'm guessing he probably clubs down a bit, like some of these guys will on these holes. He navigates these very strategic kind of courses that you can't overpower him. I guess is the simplest way to put it. So I like Cam Davis. So sorry, he's back on. Not trying to confuse you, but as we've seen, it is Jekyll and Hyde, so he could easily miss the cut. But I think the upside and what he does typically with Eagles and how he produces points, I think it's a good play at 8,600. Hoagie's right back in there. He has had a kind of a not the greatest go. He started off pretty strong, especially that T3 at the Players. And historically, he has not done well here. So I think you're going to get him at low ownership. But this course should be a perfect fit for the Hoag Master. Now, the putter can be disastrous. But again, very prototypical what we're looking at. Hits it not, on average less than 300, but very accurate. We know he's one of the better iron players typically that we have. Of course, he gained almost 9 strokes at the Players. And funny enough, on POA, he actually gained. But the putter is where he typically falls apart. He still gained on the irons, but I'm trying to see where else he's had a really. So there's a Century, the Sony. It's kind of crazy. He gained 5 strokes here, but man, it was terrible to chipping. Not that great with a putter. Let's go look at, of course, he had his first win, what was it now, 2 years ago at the AT&T Pro-Am, which again, maybe that's a great comparable course. I don't think about it because it's West Coast. Yeah, so Pebble Beach, the Amex Greenbrier. Now, I don't bring that in, but that is probably an awesome comp course, but they haven't played it forever. And I think Joaquin Niemann, was the last winner there. The Players, the Sony, the RSM, the Amex, the RSM. Should be a perfect fit, but of course, RSM, which was the seaside course on the island there, is Bermuda. But you got to know, same thing, quite a bit of water, you get in trouble. Got to be able to plot your way. And it is also a course that I identified as a comp course. Okay, we're going to move through this a little faster now. Minwood Lee, no thank you. Even though, funny enough, I thought this is just I picked him for the Byron Nelson, thinking, okay, he's kind of wayward. You can be wayward there. Everything made total sense to me. And he missed the cut. And then he goes out on a course that I thought you do not want to be off those fairways, and somehow the guy ends up T18. So right now, I'm going to just admit I do not have a good pulse on where Minwoo Lee strikes. Right, the Players is, I think, again, more of a plotter. You got to be very strategic around there. But the RBC Heritage also fits that miscut. The AT&T Byron Nelson, I'm guessing he just couldn't make enough putts, but I also remember him all over the lot. Let's go take a look at this. I'm just curious about the Byron Nelson. Oh, his irons were just trash, and also the putting. But funny enough, he actually gained. But I do remember every time they would clip to him, he was like over on the next hole, like not even near. So anyways, I'm out on Minwood Lee. Cage Lee, I think it's not a bad fit at all. I have no problem with Cage Lee. Just can't pick everybody. So he's not going to make it to mine. I almost kind of, again, like him. I guess it's a lot because where he's won, but get me on the Wyndham, get him on Shriners, and I'll probably be all over him. I'm going to go to Brian Harman, kind of hoping that ownership's going to be low. He's had a terrible run of it lately, but we're going to go look at what he's done. Of course, pretty good course history here, but go look at what Brian Harman did not too long ago. This would be in the fall swing where they play a lot of these comparable courses that I'm interested in. Of course, he's won the John Deere, second at the RSM, third at the FedEx, the Amex. Like, he was in this crazy run playing those kind of courses and doing very well. And if you look at his history, Sony, RSM, I mean, this is the course where he shows up. And then let's go look, or has a really good chance. It fits him very well, I guess. I mean, you can look at his history here. A 7th, an 8th, a 10th, a 14th, a 23rd. Yeah, like nothing really worse, except he's got 2 miscuts, one in 2012, one more recent. But I don't know. This is a place I think Brian Harmer could definitely show up at. Let me go take a look at his, yeah, very accurate driver, hits it, same thing, kind of fits in at just under 300, is typically a positive putter. I feel like his putter's been kind of bad for a while. I had this string here, yeah, kind of off and on. Anyways, so I like Brian Harmon, and again, someone I haven't been really picking. Stefan Jaeger, just throw him into the guys that I'm playing. I mean, he hits a ton of fairways. He is deadly with the irons, but typically, could be very bad with the putter. Kind of a mixed bag of results. And let's real quick just go see where he's has some of his better finishes, right? Still has not won on the PGA, but won a couple times not too long ago on the Corn Ferry. Hence how he got back. What was back? I think he did lose his card. All right, here. Let's go look. So he won the Emerald Coast. And all right, his best showing, it looks like, is the Rocket Mortgage, which I could call out very similar greens, some similarities. Funny enough, the Wells Fargo not too long ago, the Houston Open, the Honda. I don't know. That one could be a stretch, but I don't know. When I think of what he's been doing, he's been hitting a ton of fairways, and it's just a putter. I think it was at it was a Byron Nelson. Let's go look at this real quick. He shot 8 under one day there. Now he gained. Oh, well, it wasn't a PGA. Maybe it was his Wells Fargo. That's what I'm thinking of. I think it was the first day he came out as maybe the leader. And he had so many putts he missed inside of 5 feet. And I stated if he could have made some more of those, he would have been right there in contention. But that didn't happen. Taylor Moore, no issues. I actually kind of like him, right? But I think of him as, a tougher track now. He's won the Valspar. But again, no problem. But just not picking him. Kitayama, out of nowhere. T4s. But hey, I don't think he was a core pick of mine. But I did call out, right? Hey, an elevated event. He won. One of the toughest courses, crazy rough, and this is not too far off that. So, but the Colonial, I don't think in my mind fits him. Let's go look at how often he hits the fairway, 55%. That's what I think of Kitayama, is that, I just think he can get in some trouble. Ben Wyatt, man, he was all the hot and the rage, but I don't know. I don't know if it's out of sight, out of mind, but not so much for me right now. Again, I don't need his length. I don't think he has to be the best ball striker here. I don't think it hurts. I just want guys that hit fairways, good with the irons. So Brendan Todd, who's also done pretty well. He had a 3rd here, an 8th, and just kind of fits him, right? Same thing. And you see it. There's a definitely profile that I'm looking, hits it accuracy about 70% almost, 280. We know he's a very good putter. So everything kind of fits. All right. So the AT&T, which, the Schwabi, RSM, RBC, there's Greenbrier again, but that's a while ago. I don't know if you guys know, at one time he got the yips with a driver, could not hit a driver, and then now he's one of the most accurate drivers, so he got around over that little hump. There's a Schwab again. I mean, yeah, the Schwab, like the guy loves this. I mean, I bet him, I think it was 80-1, something like that. So, it's been a little while. Last time was it the first FedEx event at TPC Southwind? I want to see where he was in. So there's AT&T 7th. It wasn't that. Maybe it was a Schwab, like I said, in my mind. So maybe he did have a chance to win that. So anyways, yeah, for me, again, we're going off what we always see, and you're trying to find that perfect profile. I like Harris English, you guys know that, but yeah, I'm just 7,800. I guess they got too many guys picked in that area. I'm really excited about Seabez. You guys, pretty rare. And the last time I got excited about Seabez was on a vacation swing track, and he was I felt like one of the elites in the field, and he went out and miscut. And I don't remember. This could have been a couple of years ago. So all I'm saying, it's been pretty rare that I get super excited about this guy. But man, I mean, the John Deere. This should fit him perfect. He's one of the better putters on bent greens. We can go look at that right here. You can see that's pretty rare, but gains almost over a half stroke on the field when he's putting on bent. And if you just look at where he's had his chances, the Schwabi, RBC, the John Deere, like I said, is we gained 8 strokes on bent grass. So I don't know. A lot of things in my brain are lining up that he should have a good outing, especially at 7,700. I also bet him to win it outright. My buddy Grillo does everything. I mean, he's also fits right in that perfect mode. Now it's all about the putter, but you can see very accurate. It actually has a little more distance than those other guys. But the putter is typically a debacle. But if you look at what Mr. Grillo, if you look at, I don't know what happened at Corrales. I'm guessing he lost with the putter. But we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 outings. His last 7 outings, he's gained with the putter 5 out of those 7. Now we can go back and look at the Arnold Palmer, where he actually just was a ball striking ninja. And this is typically the prototypical model for Grillo. Just ball strikes it, better than anybody else, and then loses almost 10 strokes. But since then, and that's also Bermuda, fast, lightning Bermuda. He's been making putts, and he's also still, look at the irons, gaining 6, almost 10, 4. The driver's been, not the greatest, but typically he just hits fairways. So pretty excited about Grillo. Of course, I bet him too. Oh, and he won his first event. I think it was the Safeway. I always get these kind of confused in my brain, right? That's the old Fortinet now. Okay, so that's in California, and I believe that's POA, right? Yes, okay. Typically, sorry about that, if it is in California, you can always remember it will 95% of the time be POA. Last good out of 3M to John Deere, which I totally forgot. He had a chance to win that baby. That's also bent. RBC Heritage, again, a kind of a strategic plotter course. So where he's going to have his chance is the Schwabi RBC. So, I mean, this is, an opportunity for him to get a second win, since I believe, like I said, Lewis, his first outing he won. Alex Smalley, just not my cup of tea. I guess I think of him, I always tell you guys, for the Wyndham, his home course, maybe he has a chance there. JJ Spawn, honestly, does kind of fit this course, but he's kind of been in a bit of a stinker, but does hit it, very accurate, pretty good putter, but typically shows up on Bermuda, so I have no problem with Spawn. Fox, I was actually shocked he did as well as he did. I think he even stated I don't know if he was dealing with some illnesses and stuff, but they were talking to him, he didn't touch a golf club for 2 months and still came out and did that. So, oh, and he also had a child. I don't know if he's a new dad, but at least did have a child. So, but no, thank you, Lucas Herbert. No, great distance, could be very good short game. But again, I've told you, but he actually showed up he burned me at the WGC Dell match play. I just can't believe how well he did there. I think got out of his group, which is pretty good. Patrick Rogers, no problem. Kind of been on him. He'll probably get sprinkled in. Davis Riley, funny enough, it's kind of, has showed up here before. You can see he's been kind of a stink of it, so I'm going to go ahead and just keep saying pass. I don't need his distance. Well, I guess I always thought of he was pretty long off tee, but he's not that long. Let's go take a look real quick. So he did have this little comeback, right? He had this string of miscuts. Then he kind of showed up here in Florida a little bit, and then he's back on his miscuts. So I don't know. I guess he's probably due. Funny enough, the model likes him, but he's definitely not scoring or making cuts. Detry, nope, not for me. Billy Horschel's been fighting it all year, made those swing changes, and has not recovered. Matt McNeely, he's been an amazing putter, and that's it. So no, thank you. I would have been. I told you guys my preview show. I hope he's fine, but he's got to be hurt not to play in this event, because this is where he could do some major damage. Right, he won his first event at the RSM, had a chance to win the Sony. I mean, here's a perfect prototype, and he's also been putting, which is pretty unique for Adam Svensson. You're going to see that right here. I mean, he's been putting the lights out. So I don't know what he changed with the putter, but usually it was more of that. I mean, he also had a run there with the putter, but typically Svensson was not the greatest putter, especially with inside 3 feet. Bo Hazer actually did pretty well already as a local Texan. What did he do here last year? He had a T21. At one time, he was up there in the leaderboard. Just not me. Hayden Buckley, I kind of like him. He was one of my picks, and of course showed up pretty decent at the PGA Champ. What did he end up? 26 for the price tag, not bad. Been really well with the ball striking. Putter's kind of been on and off. I mean, what's his price tag? I didn't pick him, but honestly, for 7,300, he's been playing some pretty good golf. So no problems there. JT Poston, it kind of fits him. He won the John Deere. That's on bent. That was a year ago? He had that little run. Yeah, right here, the Travelers. And so, yeah, I did not pick him. He should be. I'm going to click him. Sorry. He should be in the player pool, so I'm going to be playing him. Even though, not the greatest of form, but at any moment, right, we all know how these guys can turn. Brian Palmer, if you want to swap out him, because I mean, funny enough, I told you he's a member here, played this course a ton. I don't know, at times, I guess I'm remembering like a couple times he's teed it up here, missed cuts. I mean, 2019 he showed up, but other than that, like really not the greatest form at his home country club that he plays a ton. Typically it's the putter, but man, the guy's actually been showing some good golf, so I got to play him. I think Eric Cole is a perfect fit for this course. Of course, he was playoff with the other guy, Chris Kirk, that I think is a perfect fit. And I highly recommend that you play him at 7,200. I'm going to play in a ton of them. Now, do I think he can win? I don't know. Can he get into the top 5? I feel that. So, all right, we're going to kind of fly through some of these other ones. I have no interest in Nick Taylor, S.H. Kim, Justin Suh. Andrew Putnam, again, hits a ton of fairways. Had that little run there that we thought he was going to win. Good course history. Same thing. He doesn't hit it far, but typically pretty accurate. Yeah, very accurate. 65% is very accurate. Also, great putter on the bent. And has been firing with the iron. So, and he had that run here. So, yeah, kind of kick off, kind of the fall. Let's go back. It's a little while. Fall, even, the Sony, where, again, he shows up. So, he fits the model. Joseph Bramlett, playing pretty decent golf. I like him where we can take advantage of his distance. Sam Stevens, I like him. More of a showdown play for me, but again, no problem. But the putters, again, you can see it could be the issue, which is kind of funny. Let me click on Sam Stevens. Because I swear one time he was actually, okay, maybe this is what I remember, the Valero. So he had this little run here. I guarantee if you gain 13 strokes, you gain with the putter, but gained 6. And then since then, it's not been good. We don't have a ton of data on him, but maybe he gets on bent. It changes. Neesmith, playing pretty solid, good ball striker. Will Gordon, again, these are kind of my guys that I use when I need some distance. I don't need that. Funny enough, Seb Straka is going to make my player pool, and it's not because what I just saw at the PGA Championship. And, he's missed 2 cuts here. If you look at where Seb, again, probably Honda should be a good comparable course for this, and I don't know if I had that in my comparables, but, it is Bermuda, but that's maybe why. But as in, it's a short, very strategic course. So that fits in. Sanderson Farms, you have to be very tight, but then there's, FedEx St. Jude, RBC Heritage, the Amex. Again, where the Rocket Mortgage, where you've seen that he's actually played well, fits this kind of course. And I think, again, mentally, like a Cam Davis, if you look at Seb Straka, is huge, right? And you think, oh, that guy's just a bomber, but no, man. So definitely I'm going to play some Seb. I like Vincent Norman. I don't have any problems, but you just can't pick everyone. Aaron Rye, actually, funny enough, fits this mold, but he's been in such a bad run. Also, tournament history, not great, but he does fit the guys that I would want to play here. He's, very accurate, not very long. The iron's been fine, but the putter's been a little. So no problem with Aaron Rye, Joel Damon. I mean, honestly, maybe I'll flip-flop these guys a little bit. Might, again, depending on how many lineups, but Joel Damon's had a little more success here, but he's also had some miscuts. But same thing, Joel Damon, what he does, 290, 65%. What's that iron's been doing? The iron's been not bad. The putter's been not good. So really, Aaron Rye, both those guys are like equal. And I guess if you're going to look, I mean, you can see maybe a little better, but recent form, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll just disclick both of them. But they should be not bad plays. Last year, been in some good form. Luke List, of course, great ball striker, can't putt. Michael Block, 6,900. So, real quick, if you want to just go take a look. As you see, I mean, he's played, I think, this is my personal opinion. I think it was the Worlds met, and Michael Block had 4 of his best days playing golf in his life. Of course, he had the hole-in-one on Sunday. Now, we don't have that large of a sample size, but what we do have is I don't know, a ton of miscuts. I mean, look at this, 15th in the PGA, and then it's just miscuts, except the Barbasol, which is like the weakest field. And you can see, I guess, even his putter, I mean, it showed up here or there. I don't know, man. I mean, you can see the data says no, but what is it saying? He's ownership. Yeah, 1%. I think if you know the game of golf and you do what we do, like the smart money is, no one's betting him. No one's thinking he's going to make the cut. Now, man, if somehow he just has a second weekend of just glory, makes the cut, I don't see it. And I can't do it. I'm going to play Ches Reavie, who I called last week, who did get you onto the weekend, and actually would have ended up with a lot better. At one time, I think he was like 16th, something like that. And then he just had a bad back 9 on Sunday. And I'm not a huge Ches Reavie fan, I'll tell you that right now. But again, he fits the player profile. I'm going to say it again. 288, 70% off the tee. Got to have that. The irons have been pretty good, as you see. The last 4 out of 5 events, been rocking it. This is kind of unique right here for Ches. I'll tell you that right now. He's usually not a very good putter, but he has been on a good putting run. So if that stays up for 6,900, I'm going to jam that all day. Shanky, no. Griffin, nope. Noren, Champer, nope. Ben Martin, kind of been falling out of a little bit. I mean, he was kind of, I don't know. Honestly, not a bad play at all. He fits the mold too. Eckroat had that great AT&T. Look, I was curious how much ownership, but I think that's a little bit of fool's gold. Let me go see Austin Eckroat. Yeah, he's pretty accurate for hitting it that long. Wow, look at that difference. Lose 8 strokes with the putter, gain almost 7.5 strokes. That's pretty interesting. No for me. Matty Wallace, I don't know. He had that win over at the Puerto Rico or whatever, and then it's just been nothing. I'm going to go to Akshay, 6,700. Now, he does not fit the mold per se. A little more distance, but the accuracy, I think this is more of an upside play as how many points he can score. You can see the putter can go kind of flip-flop. I don't know. Maybe it's flavor of the week, but I like Akshay. So I'm going to go that route. He's never played here before, but, you know, for 6,700, Michael Kim was all the buzz, and I think I picked him. Swear to God, I think I picked him for the Byron Nelson. Never picked him in my entire life, and I said, watch this. I'm going to pick him, and he's going to miss the cut, and sure as the world. So that is it for the Michael Kim experience for me, but probably go out and do well. Let me go take a real quick look. It's actually got some length, not super accurate. Let's go see where Michael Kim has had some success in his past. So he won the John Deere. There you go, 2018. And if I remember right, that's kind of the whole story on this guy. I'm not going to pretend like I know a lot about Michael Kim, but he kind of came out on fire, won the John Deere, and then just went to crap in a handbasket. Had to go back, get his card. It's really hard because everything he's actually ever done is way back. But it seems like this is the year of the resurgence. You know, you got the Daves and the Fowlers, and you got, you know, Justin Rose and all these guys that were kind of, you know, written off, or, you know, career was kind of going downwards, have all kind of made a comeback. So why not Michael Kim? Throw him in that bucket too. Nick Hardy, I need good ball striker, but thinking of bigger. I don't know, no Grio or Higo. Dylan Wu's kind of interesting. I will sprinkle him in, but, you know, he didn't make my top core. All right, let's move through these kind of faster. You know, you can make an argument for Mark Hubbard, but I think he just burned me. I don't know if it was at the, I know it was a PG. I don't know where it was. Maybe I picked him and it wasn't good. Here's a sneaky kind of play. This is against the grain. Of course, you can see, you know, Ryder was really playing well and then has kind of fallen on some hard times. He also has no course history here, but, you know, what he was doing, he's pretty accurate, kind of fits the mold, and he was on fire with the irons here earlier on. And what has fallen off? I guess the tee ball is where he's been really struggling, and the irons. I mean, but the putter was just nuclear hot. So I guess that was kind of covering up. But I usually, when I think of Ryder, I think of, you know, pretty good irons, good putter. It's a play that I'm going to make. You see that there's a possibility that definitely goes sideways. But as he just popped up, you know, Valero, and then had these 3 miscuts. But I'm on it. Told you I bet Patty Kazire just because I have to. But doesn't mean you got to play him. All right, let me scroll real fast because we are running out of time. EVR. I'm all over this. Put it right there with the Sam Ryder, but, you know, also kind of a bad form. But what EVR will do is, out of nowhere, you will see him on the leaderboard, and then Sunday he'll lose it all and fall apart on you. So I'm already expecting that. But could he get a top 10 here? It's the course that he could definitely do it. Let's go see. The Amex was like his last finish where he really showed up. Kind of was nice all across the board. Valspar, which I would not peg him to do well there, but did. RBC, Heritage. So like I said, the Sony, if he's ever going to do something, and when I say that, I'm saying a top 10, this is a course he could do it at. So that's, all right, I think that's it. I might have Knox. I'm going to unclick that. He's had good course history here. That's about it, but he's been so bad. I think I bet him at like 600 to 1, some crazy number. Just if it, you know, golf being golf, he just out of nowhere shows up. But I did also highlight, I don't know if it's not on here, but Zach Johnson, I don't know why it's not showing up, or did I scroll by it? Hold on 1 second here. Here we go. Somehow I thought I highlighted him, but I didn't. Okay. So Zach Johnson, of course, Ryder Cup captain, he's actually been playing pretty good golf. This guy has actually won here twice. Now, it was a while ago, but also if you're looking for the prototypical profile to do well at this course, it would be Zach Johnson. And I think, what do we get him at, 6,100? I think he's like almost bare min. But I mean, you can see this is like, he won back 2000, 2010. I mean, we're the guy who's done all his winning. It's here the John Deere, the RBC Heritage. Like, if he's going to do anything, again, when I say that, that's a top, top 25, top 30 for 6,200. I think it's a good play. So that actually will get me back to 25, I think, if I do that. All right, so there is my player pool and picks. Let's summarize that for you real fast. All right, so I'm making a little change at the top. Again, as I mentioned, I'm zagging, Rebels is zigging. And not that I'm worried about Victor Hovland Morikawa. It's a perfect fit, but man, I'm terrified of that putter. But that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to not do the Finau / Scotty Scheffler. You got Spieth, Rose, I'm very interested in. You got Tommy Fleetwood, talked about what he's done in the past on the Green Mile. Chris Kirk might not look like he's very good from a stroke game perspective, but man, this should fit him perfect. Russ Henley, I need you to putt, but everything else should be perfect. Danny McCarthy, just keep doing what you're doing, and you should have nice. Cam Davis, I think, could literally be a buster bomb. Could definitely, I don't know. Everything says he should do well here, but man, you can just see it's been Jekyll or Hyde, so do whatever you want. Hoagie's kind of fallen off a little bit, but I'm expecting to come back here. And also, of course, he's played at TCU, so he's from the area. Brian Harmon, same thing. This could be a different, kind of a contrarian play if you want to say. I don't know how much ownership he'll get when you actually have to click it, but man, the guy has done well here and had a nice fall on these kind of courses. Stefan Jaeger, right now showing. We'll look at ownership. I don't know how accurate that is, but again, it's like an EVR. It's just he needs to have the putter. Brendan Todd should be a great fit. Seabass, really, this is if I had to make my call. If I was doing one and done, all that. Again, one and done in the perspective that I've burned all the guys at the top. I think Seabass is a great play. Griot, Poston, Ryan Palmer, Eric Cole, Andrew Putnam, Seb Straka, Ches Reavie, Akshay Bhatia, Sam Ryder, my contrarian play there, EVR. And then again, if you're way down in here, I would much rather. So EVR would be your upside play. Zach Johnson is your get you to the weekend condom play. So if you're curious, if you're plugging a guy in at 6,200, there's your answer. All right, real quick, let's go look at ownership for you. And I'm going to do this pretty fast because I've got a hard stop here. So almost 6,000 lineups created. That's a great sample. The number we're going to look at is over here. This is actual lineups created out of Fantasy National. This is more calculator projected. I like this better. So almost 35% for Scotty Scheffler. That is the reason why I am going to pivot off that. You got Finau at 20, same thing. So I've ever played the Victor Hovland. Still, they're chalky, but nowhere near. Max Homa. Now, there you go. If you really want to get unique, you can make that run. I think Burns is going to be the same way. I actually wanted, well, you know what? Yeah, we'll keep it that way. Or we can do it by salary. Let's do it by salary. I kind of like that because it kind of shows where usually I do it by just highest ownership, but actually now I think this makes more sense because you can see for that price tag, if you want to, again, zag where everybody's zigging, who to play. So Homa's your change up. People are, on Spieth like I am. Burns would be a change up. M's, it's whatever. Justin Rose and Fleetwood. So, of course, Chris Kirk's a little bit of a differentiation. Siwoo Kim, I think it's a good fit. So if you want to get a little change, my buddy Russ Henley, McCarthy, Hoagie, there's an opportunity there. I think Hoagie could do very well. Brian Harmon at 5%. I think that's a good play. Let's see. Well, we see the stars. That's my call. So that's where I'm going to go to. Todd's at 11. Seabass at 15. Everybody's on that. Griot, also a little chalky at 14. Cole's at 10. Palmer at 7-ish. JT Poston. Now there's a little contrarian. You could, change it up there. Putnam almost at 10. Seb Straka. There's a little change at 6%. My buddy Reavie at 8. You bastards. Akshay at 10. Sam Ryder. Like I told you. But he should fit. Could work. Also, I don't know when he's teeing off. I didn't look at tee times yet, but kind of like him for early morning first round leader. And also should be good odds if he's going off in the morning. But again, remember I said I guess it's going to rain, so I have to kind of figure that one out. I haven't really thought that heavily on it. Zach Johnson EVR, you can get to around 2% or less, and that is it from an ownership perspective. So again, you can kind of see where the heavy is Scheffler, Finau, Hovland, Morikawa. If you want to get unique, you got Homa, Burns, and M. I mean, that's a break. And then Chris Kirk. So some ideas there. All right, real quick, let's go look at the weather. So I just wanted to show you this because there's not a place like right next to it, but this is about as close as you're going to get to the course at Colonial. This place called Benbrook. So that is where I'm pulling my data from Windfinder. And if we look and go at super forecast, looks like they're getting a little rain possibly today. Well, looks like quite a bit of rain if that's correct. So the course should be pretty receptive. And what's funny is I've always noticed Windfinder shows nothing right now in the forecast for rain on Thursday. So we're going to have to kind of monitor that. Usually what I'll do is I'll actually go pull up radar in that area and do my own kind of analysis, because sometimes I just don't feel like, they feel like they're really good with, I've always stated this, with understanding the wind, but I think they have a bad time trying to figure out the cells. So with that all said, pretty calm. And the only thing is, if there's going to be rain in the morning, maybe we look at these guys because the course will get softened up and you don't have to deal with the rain, but that is really it. Go look at Friday. I really see nothing again. Friday. And then let's go real quick and just look at the normal forecast, because we can get a bigger picture and see if they're agreeing with gust. So nothing really crazy on Saturday. It's funny enough, they're not saying, or Sunday. So I don't know. The PGA, honestly, I kind of trust in what the PGA states. Those guys literally are like doing the actual work. So, I would expect Saturday, Sunday to have a little more wind. All right, guys, let's jump out and wrap this thing up. All right, as always, thank you so much for spending some time with me. Hey, we've actually had some new subscribers. I want to thank all the new subscribers. Thanks for joining. A lot of positive comments. I appreciate that too. That keeps me honestly doing what I'm doing. As you see, I'm not really in this from a money perspective. I'm kind of in it because I do it and felt like, hey, if I can help just a few people out there do a little better at this and put a few more dollars in their pocket, that's why I do it. So again, if you do me the honor, click that like button. And if you've not subscribed, you're checking me out for some odd reason for the first time at the Charles Schwab and want to subscribe, I'd appreciate that. And also, if you want, follow me on Twitter. As I mentioned, I put out some funny anecdotes, some videos, stuff I see on the course, because I watch pretty much from every day from the time they tee off to the time it's done. And I see some kind of funny things that some people don't get to catch. But also probably the bigger reason why I would follow me is I'm always keeping an eye on to make sure withdrawals, right? Because there's nothing worse than you go to bed on Wednesday night and wake up and you got to withdraw Thursday morning. Best of luck to us at the Charles Schwab. I feel really good about this. I told you from a betting perspective, we got to get past a couple of the top guys from a betting side, right? We need the top 5 guys to not have the greatest weekend. And then that opens the door for some big odds. And that's what I'm looking for here. Of course, it's not an elevated event. All right. Have a great weekend, guys. Enjoy the golf. And I will talk to you guys on Monday.